We've seen dual-chambered cases before, like the Air 540 and the Air 240 from Corsair, as well as the Note 804 from Fractal Design. Now those cases were a bit cubed shape, and that's to be expected since there are two chambers for hardware. But it looks like someone from Inwin said, nope, we can have dual chambers and not have it be a cube. This is the Inwin 303. Now, we're no strangers to Inwin cases. In fact, we've checked out the S-Frame, the D-Frame Mini, and even saw the H-Tower being assembled at an NCIX retail location. So needless to say, Inwin has had some pretty interesting and outlandish styles when it comes to case design. The 303, however, at first glance looks like a simplistic case, save for the front panel lighting. But as we look at the case a little harder, we can see that there's more than meets the eye. Let's start off with the exterior. On the front panel, we have a power button, a reset button, an Inwin logo, two USB 2 ports, front audio ports, and two USB 3.0 ports. And like I mentioned earlier, everything I just mentioned, minus the power button and the reset button, they light up. At the very top, we see a whole lot of nothingness, which adds towards the case's simple style. On the right hand side panel, we have honeycomb cutouts for exhaust and retaining thumb screws. On the left hand side, we have a large smoked 3mm thick tempered glass side panel with a button toggle you press down on to remove said side panel. And you can see a little preview of what the interior looks like through it. At the back, we see something a little different. We have a top mounted power supply cutout. Now this is something we haven't seen in quite some time, as most cases nowadays have bottom mounted cutouts. Not only that, the cutout is also in a vertical orientation and not a horizontal one. Moving a little bit further down, we have the motherboard I/O cutout, a space for a 120mm fan, and 7 expansion slots. And finally at the bottom we find 2 case feet and a honeycomb mesh fan filter. Let's move on to the interior of the 303. With the tempered glass side panel taken off, we can see a really open design on the inside. Up top, we have a space for mounting 3 120mm fans or a radiator. On the left hand side, we have the motherboard mounting area, and on the right, we have two 2.5-inch SSD mounting sleds. And at the very bottom of the case, another 3 spots for 120mm fans. Onto the other side of the interior, we have a separate chamber for the power supply and ample room for cable management. We also have 2 more drive sleds compatible with both 2.5-inch and 3.5-inch drives. Let's talk about the building experience. Now, usually the first thing I do when I assemble a PC is install the motherboard I/O shield. And right away, there's a small issue. For some reason, the cutout for the I/O shield doesn't have the support stops for the top and bottom portion, and it causes it to slide up and down. Now this wasn't a big deal since you can line up the I/O shield pretty easily and you won't ever have to move it again after the motherboard is installed, but it was odd to see this in the first place. Now finding screws for things was very easy since Inwin labels all their little baggies. Everything was pretty straightforward in terms of installing hardware. Inwin goes a step above and even includes this anti-sag bar for GPUs. Now I didn't install this because of the bar touching the fan portion on the GPU cooler, but it's nice to see that Inwin thought of the small details. Now let's talk about fans. You guys might have noticed that I installed 2 fans on the bottom here for airflow when there's room for a third. Now there's a good reason for this. Installing a third fan on the leftmost side caused kinks in some of the header cables, and I didn't want that. Another small issue was the location of the fan screw holes. Some of them are actually hidden underneath the case feet, which you need to pull out the rubber grommet piece to get access to the screws holding onto the feet, and then you take the feet off and then you screw the fan in, then you put the feet back on, screw back in, and put the rubber feet back in. It's just a whole process that shouldn't really have to be that way. One more tiny note about the Inwin 303. It doesn't actually come with any fans. It's very rare to see this. In fact, I don't remember the last time I saw a case without stock fans included. I mean, on one hand, some people prefer the stock fans to be swapped out in the first place right away, but on the other hand, some people don't bother changing them out at all until it becomes an issue, whether it's a fan dying or they prefer more airflow. The cable management routing holes could have used some rubber grommets. Not a huge deal breaker for me, but it would have been nice to see something included to cover the bare metal. Now, with everything said and done, the Inwin 303 really is a breath of fresh air for dual chambered chassis, even with its little quirks. No longer do end users have to sacrifice a larger case footprint for better airflow. It's got ample space for cable management, and it wasn't difficult to build in. And at the time of filming, we actually don't have a product page to direct you to, but we hope to remedy that soon. So if you're interested, click up here or down in the description in the future so that you can check this out. That's it for this overview of the In1303. Thank you so much for watching. Click over here for previous videos. Check us out on Twitter right over here. But as always, like the video if you liked it, comment down below and let us know what you thought of the In1303. And as always, subscribe for more like this from NCIX. We'll see you later.